August 30th, 2018 VOLTHA call. And today we have a few discussion topics. Keep in mind we do record the session, so need to remember that during any comments and or presentations. And with that, I think we'll get started today. We have one item that was added to the agenda yesterday that was not on the one I sent out on or had discussed on Tuesday. So we want to first go over one of the technology profile user stories. So that's VOL 1093. And then if we have any remaining time in the first portion of the meeting, then we'll look at some of the preliminary planning for Sprint 7. Then in about 30 minutes from now, we're planning to start the discussion on with Northforge on the update from them on the testing and issues they've encountered and questions they have for the community so that they can continue with the work that they've been doing. And with that, I think, Sean, I will hand it off to you. Do you need presentation rights, or do you want me to just bring up the user story on the screen?
Yeah, can you just show the user story? That'd be great.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah, so this is VOL 1093. So this is around establishing an authentication data path for a subscriber so that the RG can do the EA poll or any other kind of authentication for the subscriber that needs to occur. Currently, there's a default creation of a gem, an ALEC ID, to allow traffic from the subscriber RG to go northbound. And so this was basically a story around utilizing the information, the subscriber record that should be available at this point. So basically the traffic descriptor, so the technology profile, the bandwidth profile should all be available. And this is basically a story saying, let's just use the information that's associated with the subscriber so we can create gem and ALEC IDs that will be used subsequently once the subscriber has been authenticated. And so we don't really need to delete anything we just created for authentication data path and then add in a new set of ALEC IDs and gem ports for the subscriber actually traffic. So I'd appreciate if anyone people could take a look at this and provide any feedback as to, if there's any reason why we shouldn't do this. It seems like this makes the process a little easier in terms of managing the TC layer attributes, and there's no hidden gem. Now, someone have a comment? Okay, so if there's no questions or comments at this point, I mean, we could take this to VOLTHA discuss, and we can have some back and forth around the subject. Okay, guess that's it. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Sean. Any last call for comments on this before we move on to the additional discussion?
Yeah, why is this controversial, Sean? I mean, to discuss it at this level, it's a story to do things. Is there some point that you think people are going to have comments on?
It seemed like there was, and I brought this up in a couple of other forums, it seemed like there was reluctance to do this for some reason. I didn't get any specific feedback as to why not, so this was just an opportunity for someone to bring up any issues around this. Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure we're not going to go ahead and do this, and then all of a sudden there's oh my God, we can't do it this way. But this seems just like a logical way to go. I mean, there may be some other issues we may have to address. If there's more than a single service flow per subscriber, for instance, we might need to indicate which one should be used for authentication somewhere down the road. But yeah, I just wanted to put it out there so we can put to rest any issues that might come up.
All right, thanks.
All right. Okay, thanks a lot, Julie.
Okay, I think with that, we'll move over to, let me bring the agenda back up. So I want to take a little bit of time today before we go into the discussion with Northforge, looking at some preliminary planning for Sprint 7. So we have had people start moving in issues that are planned for work for Sprint 7. So thank you to those folks who are doing that work in the background. And the sprint, I'll bring up the release schedule. So this sprint is scheduled to start next Monday and run for 3 weeks. So in the US and I believe in Canada as well, Monday is a holiday. So I may not actually get in there to push the button to kick off the sprint formally on Monday. If I don't get that done, feel free to work on it anyway, but I'll see if I can get that done if I log on Monday. Otherwise, I'll do that Tuesday before we have our call, our usual VOLTHA call. So that is kind of the rough schedule. So again, roughly 3 weeks, taking us into late September. And let me go over to the, let me find the right screen, to the VOLTHA board, and we'll take a look at where we are right now with the sprint planning for this. So actually, before I do that, let me go to our active sprint. So we do have about 13 items still in the to-do column. And since our sprint is wrapping up tomorrow, I expect a few of these at least will carry over into Sprint 7. We have 14 in progress, so it's possible some of those will carry over as well. So there may be additional work beyond what we have in the preliminary plans for Sprint 7. And now if I go down, if I can find where Sprint 7 starts. Bear with me scrolling here. Here we go. Okay, so at the moment, here is what we have for our preliminary planning for Sprint 7. We have some work on the test automation that Northforge is doing. We have one issue brought in that we had talked about tentatively assigning to Sprint 7, so I pulled that in. And that is on the reporting of the ONU registration IDs from VOLTHA. And let me see, Venkata, I think I see you on the call. I think you'd expressed interest in working on this one, is that correct?
I mean, yeah, I can look into it. It seems like it's a complete feature change, I guess. But I need some help on getting the requirement for this one.
Okay, so I won't assign it directly to you yet. Do you need more feedback from Deutsche Telekom or from,
that'd be good.
other? Okay, okay. So we can, Sean Ying, so maybe you and I can help put Venkata in contact with the right resources at Deutsche Telekom to answer.
Or you know, Venkata, I think Amit has been very closely related to this issue.
Yes.
So if you think you can work with Amit directly, I think that would be great too.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay, so do you want me to go ahead and assign this to you right now, Venkata? So we have that one mapped, or do you just want to look at it a little more before we do that?
I mean, anything is fine. So I'll talk to Amit. Yeah.
Okay, if I can find your name here. Okay. So I'll put you down there now, and then we'll see how that goes in Sprint 7. We have the additional work on the CIG ONU adapter integration, and here's another case we have for the test automation, installing and configure Kubernetes on a test node. We have a few OpenOLT issues that have mapped in. One for getting the manufacturer model and versions from the drivers, and then also a logger for the drivers. And then on the OpenOMCI side, we have a MIB resynchronization task scoped in currently. So that's what we have currently in there. Like I said, we may have some items from Sprint 7 that carry over. And then in the backlog, we do still have a number of defects that can be looked at, and other some high priority user stories as well. So I'll just scroll through a little bit on the backlog on the defects, and if anyone sees an item they think we need to pull into Sprint 7, please let me know and we can map that over now. I'll give you about 10 seconds here, and then I'll scroll up. Okay, let me scroll up a little bit. And then we've got the next batch, and then we're going into the high priority user stories about mid-screen here. Any candidates for Sprint 7? I'll scroll down a little bit further. And I kind of expect some of the Broadcom ONU work will get pulled in. But we'll take a look here at the next batch. And then I think we're out of the high priority ones after that. And then we can maybe start the Northforge discussion a little bit early. I believe I saw the representatives join.
Hey Julie, what's Vol 194? What's that one? Because
this is on the Edge Core device.
Yeah, so that should be taken care of in the
okay.
technology profiles and adding the meters.
Okay, so we maybe should. Sorry about my typing this morning. Okay, so we may need to add a link in there, and then do we want to close this one out with a reference to a technology profile story?
Yeah, well, I'll take a look at it, Julie.
Okay.
Julie, I'll let you know.
Okay, thanks. All right. And then I think this brings us down into the meeting priorities. So I think with that, probably if no one has specific items they are thinking need to be pulled into Sprint 7 at this point, we'll see what we have for scope after Sprint 6 closes out at the end of this week. And then on Tuesday's call, we can do some additional assessment as needed and see what we have available for resources for work as well. Okay, I think that's probably all we need to cover for the high level, because we have stories being pulled in by the technical leads for the specific areas like OpenOMCI, OpenOLT adapter, and the HA and core work and other areas as well. So with that, shall we go in? Let me just take a quick poll. Does anyone have items they need to bring up for discussion related to Sprint 7 today? Okay, I think let's move. Oh, yes, go ahead.
Julie, so can you go back to the PowerPoint again?
Yeah.
So the Golang, I mean, the core restructuring should be available on 7, right? We went through that last time, potentially 8. Is that true?
No. So this was with some of the changes related to device management and some additional work coming into the core. We may need one development sprint beyond Sprint 8 for the core work. So that may continue into Sprint 9, but we decided to not formally add it in on this and see where the work is when we're getting to Sprint 8. So Ken, did I represent that correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So we tentatively need an additional development sprint, which would be Sprint 9 for the core work.
Okay. So additional development sprint may be required for the core work. Can you add additional for the core work? Okay.
Sure.
Great.
Okay. Sean, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about on this slide?
No.
Okay, then let's move back to the agenda. And then I think we'll open up the discussion with Northforge. And let me check. I'm not sure if you have a presentation you wanted me to give anyone presentation rights or just have a discussion forum.
Yeah, it's Daniel Long speaking. Can you give me the screen so I can share some of the stuff I have?
Presenter, and just a reminder that we do record it, so make sure you have your screen cleaned of anything you don't want shared.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you should have presentation rights now. Thanks.
Okay, thank you to give me that right. So please let me know if you see my screen.
Yes.
Yes.
So is this you see the presentation, right? The PowerPoint, right?
That's
yes.
right, on an integration testing slide.
Okay. So my name is Daniel Luong, as an architect in this project, and I have with me Gio Liparty as a senior software engineer. He joined the project, VOLTHA project, as full-time, and we have Josh Montanu as the manager. Me and Josh is working for this project part-time, and Gio is full-time. We from Canada. Myself and Josh is from Montreal, Quebec, and Gio is from Ottawa. So let's give a quick overview of what we are trying to do, just for the sake of somebody come in and should have an overview. So we work on integration test framework. So it tests all the components, not just VOLTHA. It tests VOLTHA with SDN component, for example. And on the lower level, we use BondSim for the first stage, and depend on the need, we may extend it to the hardware later. For example, H-core OLT or BCM ONU. So we try to put the framework running under Jenkins, so it can trigger every night, or it can trigger for every code commit, depend on the need. So this is the plan. We take one of the test case and we make it as a POC to prove the concept. So we should have that for today. Finish the POC for today's. We have a code review pending there. So if it's approved, we can commit the code, and then we finish the first step. Then we move to the Kubernetes part. That is the second step, and then we finish the rest of the tests on December 5th. We will map those timeline into the sprint you have in VOLTHA. We can do that if you ask us to do so. Any question on the timeline, please?
Daniel, so right now, of course, that's for the community also to comment on this one. The test case is the last one, the Multicast IGMP. Mm-hmm. So maybe PondSim does support that, but at the same time, I don't think we have spent too much time on taking care of the features on the Multicast and IGMP. So mm-hmm. I would state if the community agree is the Multicast and IGMP, the last test case, can be a stretch goal. So the functionality support of the Multicast is still to be determined, because we have not addressed that issue for a while.
Who will be the person we should discuss about this?
I think if we decide today, say we can remove the Multicast IGMP on the test case, I think that should be the case.
Okay.
So for the other people on the call, is this something we're sure the VOLTHA? You see, if we look at the schedule, because the VOLTHA core also going to be changed sometimes in the Julie is at the end of October, another 2 sprints. So the VOLTHA core also will be changed at some point. So so if I suggest we remove the multicast test cases, anybody has any heartburn about it?
Yeah. Why are we removing this case? This is David, Sean. I didn't quite understand why. Is it just a deprioritization of the case, or?
The prioritization for multicast and IGMP is not high priority at this point.
Why?
Because we have not been fully focused on the development on the multicast at this point. Even though we know VOLTHA should continue to support that, but there are additional, like for example, OMCI and the technology profile may not include the multicast as one of the design.
Yeah, I guess I would argue that would be something we would want to make part of the design at least. I mean, if we're deprioritizing the implementation, that's a different story. But if we don't design for these things up front, we're likely to miss something and have problems later. So this is
I think test case development, definitely we can put it in there, but at the same time, I'm not sure. We can run the test, but I'm not sure it will be a successful test case.
That seems to me that we're losing functionality from our product that works today if we don't support multicast IGMP. And we've gone backwards in terms of capability.
Okay, so that's beyond the scope of the MVP, right? So David, what I'm saying is, this testing is reflecting what the support of the VOLTHA requirement 2.0 at this point.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I guess I missed something somewhere, because I would say multicast IGMP is part of MVP. That's a little concerning to me.
Okay, it's not, right? So at least it's not when we talk about in April the multicast IGMP, it was not on the table for the MVP. It will be early next year for sure. But okay. What I'm saying is, yes.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. That was I must have missed something somewhere, but okay, or forgotten something. It happens. All right, if multicast is not going to be in the MVP, then yeah, there's no need to test it. But yeah, I guess I'm looking at this now, and not having a benefit of recollection of a decision from April. It seems to me we're going backwards in functionality. But again, if the functionality is not going to be there, there's no need to test it.
Sean, I was going to make a suggestion and see if this is palatable. So in terms of priority, it's the last item, slated for delivery on this plan from Northforge. So I think that has the prioritization in line with what you have, rather than, I think you talked about removing it from scope, maybe just state a dependency on the functionality, and if the functionality isn't there, then it would be deferred until the functionality is available for testing. So it's just really more a dependency on any additional VOLTHA work that needs to be done.
Right, and then right now I'm looking at the test case. I don't know the VOLTHA core restructuring, whether that will create a variant in this schedule. Right, so because we want this, do we want this to test a 1.x release or do we want it to 2.0 release? And one question is I have is I guess when we discussed this last time, I was in Japan attending a meeting. Maybe back to Northforge, the testing layout as a stepwise testing. Why is that? Is that for each test case, really, does it really require a 2-week test cycle to test each, I would call it a test category or test case suite? So is the automation testing, shouldn't that be part of the, pipeline or sequence of the event? And, I don't understand why for example, the ONU discovery and enable, between ONU discovery, enable, and authentication will require 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I can answer your question. We have one engineer to work on the test, and for now, we don't know whether the test is working on the branch we want to test. We will discuss about the branch later on, but let's say I assume that let's say we work on the branch 1.3. So when we start to create the test for ONU discovery and enabling we are not sure that something is broken or not. Then so the estimate is contain the fix for the something if something is broken. It can be code broken or it can be something else, and we put that 2 weeks for that, but it can be quicker. If we can make it quicker, then we can put the code quicker to the branch.
Okay. Okay, sorry, Rob. So I think what you're saying, I think that's fine. It will be the last test case, and then we should be able to provide more clarification when it is become more obvious.
So there was a story, I guess, that I think Nokia was delivering on or related to IGMP. Is that available? Is that what's required in terms of supporting
the IGMP? To rebase the code, right? So I think they're in the process of contributing that code again.
So
right.
So what does that?
It looks like they had firewall issues.
I think they uploaded successfully either yesterday or the day before.
Okay. Let me go check on that. Thanks.
So what does that deliver in terms of the multicast IGMP feature for the last test case here? Does that then support multicast fully, or do we still need to have a technology profile that is specific to multicast, specifying a specific downstream gem?
I think the multicast stuff they do is only on the ONU's app portion.
But the VLANs to use for multicast are specified at that level, or does that need to be specified somewhere else, the multicast VLAN?
The good starting point is we follow the lab test description. You have some documentation on that, and we try to implement that in the robot script. But it's a starting point. We can extend the thing that you have, the manual testing, and put it into the robot script. It can on the SDN side, it is also involved in the flow setup on the data plan as well.
Okay, so I guess I haven't really been following multicast very much. Is there there's a description of how multicast would work and how we'd expect to set up the multicast VLANs and etc. Right? Is that on the wiki?
It's not on the wiki, but you have a manual test step inside the code base. This is just a text file to describe how you test the multicast. We don't get there yet. We don't have the further documentation or design for the multicast and IGMP test case.
Okay. I mean, I don't know, Sean. Is it worthwhile having just another, like a
I think
specific meeting around multicast and just discuss and just nail down how it's supposed to work?
Yep. I think that's what I'm saying. That the multicast, we have not visited this issue since almost the beginning of the year. So, you know, and then again in April we said multicast is not part of the MVP.
Yeah,
so,
it's just having, you know, code deliveries and, you know, do we all agree on how that would work and how the it'd be very simple to create a technology profile for multicast jam, but we just need to understand how it's going to fit into the big picture.
Right.
I mean, if that's not a priority, we could push that off, I guess. But
yeah, but again, so if we want, in some sense, or the way I see it, if we want to make sure this test case be tested, then we need to have a clear the background regarding how multicast actually being supported with VOLTHA, and then the owners, and then so we need to make sure the whole thing, the everything's in place and working. Yeah, so Sean and Julie, we probably do need to have the multicast the review at one point. So back to the Northforge. Sorry for interrupting you, but
good comment. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, you know, so why don't you continue? But I am hoping, you know, of course, based on your resource, and then whether the schedule, the stepwise schedule, can be moved shorter in some sense. As I said, I don't know when the VOLTHA core got introduced, whether this schedule will be affected. Ken?
Yeah.
Do you think the introducing the VOLTHA core restructuring will affecting this schedule on a very high level?
Well, on the high level, a little bit, because it's if we're moving because it's not just about the core, it's also about the adapters, right?
Right. So your person will be out.
The cores need to be ready, and the adapters needs to be ready as well.
Let me jump in for a little bit. I want to discuss about it in the next slide. So we prefer to jump into 1.3 first and test all the test case with 1.3, because working with the master for now is too risky for us, because we don't know what happened in the master. So we stay with 1.3. We test all the test case on 1.3, and if everything working, and we will move to master later. So that is the plan. I would like to discuss about that in this slide. But we want to discuss about the code first, and move to the issue and question later. Can we go back to this a little bit late?
Okay.
Later?
I do believe that, yeah, the schedule we can, you know, I think once we have I think the plan has a lot of moving parts also. So if you go back to the page 4, we have been the 1.4 has been released, right? So have you looked at the 1.4 yet? And then what?
Not yet. We are familiar with 1.3, but not for 1.4. So you are suggesting we should look into 1.4? Yeah.
Because 1.3, you know, I know we're only doing the PON-SIM, but again, so you know, the 1.4 is when the OpenOLT adapter and then some of the ONU adapter got introduced. So they are. So I would, you know, if you cannot do master right now, I would highly suggest you to look at the 1.4. I think that's closer to the master than 1.3, right? So that I would recommend. and a lot of the Helm chart installation of the Kubernetes and then the VOLTHA is only in 1.4, not in 1.3.
Yeah, it makes sense. If we are there, then we should talk about the PwnSim as well. We asked a question whether we use PwnSim version 2 or we stay with the old PwnSim, and if yes, we want to go to PwnSim version 2, then VOLTHA 1.4 is a good branch to go. Do you have any suggestion on that?
Daniel?
I would suggest to go to use version 2 because the other version is something that will deprecate eventually. So it might as well start with the version 2.
Okay. And with PwnSim version 2 is stable in 1.3? Oh, sorry, 1.4?
It should.
Okay.
Well, it is, right? And that's the whole point of testing it. If there's bugs, then we'll see it, right?
What?
No, that's the whole point to test
it. Will. Okay.
Hello?
I'm very glad if you think of using BBSIM, that is emulator for control message of ORT using OpenORT adapter in 1.4.
Sorry, can you repeat what we should consider?
BBSIM. BBSIM is a emulator of control messages between OpenORT adapter and ORT and ONUs. So I think this emulator is made for scalability test of VOLTHA and ONOS. So this can be used for your test plan.
Can you send a link to us after the meeting?
Yes, I will do it.
Okay, thank you. Who is talking, please?
It's Keita-san.
Okay. Thank you, Keita-san. So, conclusion of this is we will consider to switch to VOLTHA 1.4 and stabilize all the testing there. We switch to use PwnSim version 2, and we consider to use the BBSIM as Keita-san suggested. And I would like to go back to the plan. So if we agree with the priority, with the order, then we'll go ahead with the plan. I would take the time remaining for this meeting to show you the code and get your feedback. So this is the code we put in the Gerrit, and the most important part is the robot script. The Python code is a low-level implementation of the function call we call from robot. So I just want to stay with the robot script. So the direction is if somebody want to understand about the test, he just need to read this file, the robot script. So it's self-descriptive, and the robot framework is very good in the sense that if you read the test case in the robot test script, then you understand. You don't have to write a different documentation for your test case. The documentation and the script is in the same place. So I will ask Gilles to go over the code and explain the code, and then if you have some suggestion, then we can take it at the same time. So Gilles, please go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Hi, everyone. So one of the comments we had for the first iteration of this code was that it was more Python centric, that there was very little at this level to understand what was actually going on. So we've ported and we made a change to make it robot centric, so that we, just like Danielle was explaining, it's very visible what is exactly is going on. So if you just go move the page up a little bit. Just I want to show you. Yeah, what this starts with. Well, we've sectioned it off that there's a test setup and a teardown. So that's where VOLTHA. So for the test setup, VOLTHA is started. And all of the containers, well, it'll be Kubernetes at some point, but right now it's Docker Compose that starts all the containers, and then the test case, which there's only one of at the moment, called provisioning. That's what then called, and then after the test is run or the test case suite will be done, then it goes through the teardown and it stops all the containers and you get a clean suite after that. So if we go down to start VOLTHA, yeah, okay. So at first, okay, so we're establishing all the log files where we're going to be logging the different elements that we're capturing. So configure, so that's when you're defining the log files, and then you're calling the constructor, and they go in and get established for the session. So the first thing you do is that you stop VOLTHA, so you don't know where you're at, so you'll be tearing down all the containers that may have been established there, may have been not stopped the first time around. So, and that's just below. And what you do for the stop VOLTHA, you stop the pon sim, and then you remove all the existing containers. Okay, and then you proceed to start it up again. So you start the VOLTHA containers. You start the collection of all the logs for the various log files that you're collecting. And then you enable the bridge, and then you start pon sim again with a variable number of ONUs. And then you start ONOS. Okay, so that's considering the test setup, and then you move on to the test case itself, which is just provisioning that we have at the moment. So you for this particular file, okay, Python tree, you got to define all of it. You got to call the constructor with all the different log IDs that you have, and you establish you define the port ID and the IP address, which are defined up above. That's for the OLT. So you go ahead and you pre-provision the OLT. So you query the device before the enable. So we're collecting what we get out of the device CLI command. Then you go through, you enable the device, so that enables the ONU devices, and then you query afterwards, and you make sure that you have all the right number of ONUs configured, and the OLT, and they're all in the ready state. And
one question.
Yes,
one
okay.
question. Back to the start VOLTHA portion.
Yes.
You know, the community maybe why the run ONOS is the last step of the sequence of the
That's the way it was. Yeah. So that's it run ONOS, and that consists of both the free radius and ONOS itself. That's the that was the sequence, that did work. That was established before I started. That was done in Python in that sense. Would you rather ONOS be? It can be started. I mean, it's just a matter of
the sequence.
The sequence.
Hey, David Bainbridge, what do you think? or other people?
The sequence should not matter.
Sequence doesn't matter.
Yeah, it shouldn't.
Okay.
In fact, to have a really good system, you want to be able to start things in various different orders and have the system still coalesce to a working state.
Right. Oh, so in some sense, we probably have maybe add another test cases if they turn up almost in different various stages. That can be an additional test case to be added.
Or yeah, a variation of the startup sequence.
Yeah.
Maybe two. Yeah, but yeah, that could be done too.
And does your tool allow you to do things in parallel? For example, when you start VOLTHA, is there a way to run things within it in parallel, or is it really sequential?
It's the way a robot works. It's sequential. Yeah, it's got to wait till all of the steps are done before it starts executing the test case. Yeah.
Okay. So you can't really have two test cases that run at the same time.
No, it will go through the one test case and then it'll move into the next one afterwards. Yeah. Because
okay.
it's got to collect the line. It's got kind of like the pass level and all that. So it's sequential. Robot is sequential. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
It also helps to make sure you have clean data everywhere. You're not seeing cross side effects, although cross side effects are parallel tests are interesting as well to see if they do cause side effects and cause each other to crash.
Yeah. I'm not sure at this level whether it would make sense to do cross level results would kind of cause confusion here. Yeah, it'd be difficult to manage the tests themselves. Yeah,
understood.
So, yeah.
And later on, I would assume this is not a cluster mode, right? This is just a single instance of the VOLTHA and ONOS. But
yes,
so the VOLTHA HA is not part of the test setup here, right?
Not yet. No, we haven't proposed that yet to move it across. Nodes. Yeah, to
But strictly
the HA. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we all consider to move to the VOLT HR, then the underlying code of the Python should be rewritten or extended as well, not just the robot framework, just not the robot script level, but also on the Python level as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Daniel, if you don't mind to add it as a stretch goal to have the VOLTHA HA in place also, because there are some behavior differences.
Yeah. What is the difference?
Also, at one point, we're going to be able to test with having a Kubernetes cluster up, have it start an action, and then take out one of the Kubernetes nodes, and we need the system to behave in a reasonable fashion.
Assuming that you have both HA and multicast available, what is the higher priority? Which task should go first?
HA.
HA first. Okay.
Yeah.
How's that? Is that doable like over on the Jenkins side of things, or is that like a special case? A special hardware setup.
Taking out a Kubernetes node?
No, but I mean HA. So having VOLTHA across multiple nodes and that kind of stuff. Could we do that over Jenkins?
It should be in the Kubernetes level.
Yeah, I don't know if they are doing it. It should be able to be done by Jenkins.
Okay, so that's the call, whether it's possible to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is another point. I mean, we were asking. We've got to open up a Jira issue to understand that we need the support for Kubernetes, under Jenkins to start with, and not sure. I guess that's slated now for 7 for.
I guess, in terms of Jenkins, I would expect Jenkins to start up VMs, right? Use a shell command out, start up some VMs.
Yeah.
Install Kubernetes on those VMs.
Okay.
Execute tests on those VMs, and then in terms of being able to take out one of the cluster nodes, just kill one of the VMs.
Yeah. Okay.
So running on Jenkins, Jenkins is an orchestration language in this case more than anything else.
And Daniel, and I think what we can do is also because I request ONF to be Suchitra. Sorry, she was planned to attend, but she had some personal things. She just taking day off. So, but I'll take it back to talk to her regarding to the Jenkins support of HA, because they also they're doing the core kind of testing with Jenkins. They must have it in place also. So I'll explore this question with them.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
So
to reinstate, the HA is more important than multicast for this year.
Okay.
Okay. So if you look at the code here, do you agree that this is easy to read? This is self-descriptive, and it's easy to read the test case rather than in Python level or Perl level, right? I think it's a good way to go to write a test in such a high-level language.
I am happy to see the tests in something other than Python.
Yeah, this is why we switched to robot framework. Okay, I think Jill, do you have you finished with that?
No, I'm finished. Yeah, you can take it over again.
Thank you, Jill.
Okay.
So we go back to the issue and question we have. We already discussed about the version we should work on. That is 1.4 is the recommendation. So now go back to the question. If we finish the code, which branch we should put the code on? Can we put the code on 1.4 branch and later on merge the code to master? Is this a good way to go?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will put code on the 1.4. We run into some issue with Jenkins, so we create a ticket 11330 is still be there. So can somebody look at that? Let me show the ticket. Yeah, this block us from putting the test into the Jenkins. That's related to the sudo command on the virtual machine. Another question I have is if we have an alternative way to avoid this build problem, can we take some build artifact like Docker image build overnight and just store it, run it, rather than store the build from the source code? Is there a way to do that? Anybody know about that? If nobody, yeah, please.
Dave or Ken, can you guys do you understand the question?
Well, I believe there is a different there's a build that I think Dave did that a while back, and that was pretty much every time there's a submit that goes in, and there's a build that happened, and those builds are available. I think I put that somewhere in the
Docker
one of the responses. Yeah.
The Docker goes right. So, but at the meantime, I think we want to eliminate so many different variants of the files, right? So you have Docker Compose, and then you have Kubernetes Helm, two different versions of that. So one thing about that Docker Compose, we are thinking about retiring that, right?
It's been retired.
It has been retired. Okay. But is there any, without the Docker Compose, or is there something community can do, or automatic way we can help to get the image ready for the system testing every time?
As Ken was saying, there's an automated build on Docker Cloud. Wow. That every time
That's a new club.
Yeah, it's a new club. Every time there is a code commit, all the containers are rebuilt, and those containers are published on Docker Hub. So any container required by VOLTHA should be able to be pulled from Docker Hub.
That is correct for 1.4 as well?
It should be.
I have to go back and look at the build. You have to build it for each release, and the builds were done a while ago, so I'd have to check which releases I'm building it for. But I thought at least one was done for latest.
And David, one thing is, since Jono is gone, right? So we the build and cut release right now, we also, this is a side question, but we also need to take care of that since Jono is not there anymore.
Right. So I'm looking at the tags for the VOLTHA Envoy container on Docker Hub. Let me throw that in the chat. And there is a tag for 1314 as well as latest.
David, can you send some information how to check the tag and the Docker images on the Docker Hub to us?
Yes, I just cut and paste into the chat the URL that goes to Docker Hub to get those, or shows you the tags for this specific container.
Okay, I got that.
Send me an email and with questions, and I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have created another Jira ticket that in order to switch to the Kubernetes, we need some environment for the test node. So we create this ticket. It's not assigned to anybody yet. So this is essential for the next step that related to switching to the Kubernetes. If somebody can take that and work on that, is very appreciated. Okay.
Yeah, I think the 1193. I'm trying to see whether the AT&T Foundry or other people, other lab can help out. So I'm trying to, and also ONF. I'm trying to find the answer for that one.
Thank you, Jim. So for that, we need a Kubernetes and Helm environment on the test node so we can run the different test cases. So that's it for the code reviews. It's there for a while, so if somebody can review and approve, then we can have the code go into the branch and we continue with the next phase.
When you say code review, which Jira? I think okay. What Jira ticket is associated to that, and what's the link of your code? I think that's this code, right?
Yeah, 10705.
I think I tried to assign to ONF yesterday. I added I added a Suchitra, and then I added the Lukat also yesterday on Tuesday, and hopefully they can review that. So
Okay.
And Ken, your name is on it too. And Dave Bainbridge, your name is on it.
Okay, we run out of the time. I have a final discussion point that earlier when we have the first code review, we get a command that suggests to use the API call, the REST API call, instead of using the CLI. I have a little bit different opinion on that. I prefer to test everything, including the CLI. So I would use the CLI to test the system. If it's for a certain functionality, and if for a certain functionality that the CLI is not available yet, then I would call the API. So that is my principle. So if you agree with that, we can go ahead with that. If not, then we can discuss. Vice Chair, yeah, please.
Yeah, I think whatever can establish the first successful test, let's do with that. Okay. and then we can extend to that using API also. So let's get this thing nailed down first.
Okay.
I mean, have a system. Yeah, I think that's fine with me. One thing I did about test report is that, you know, is the test report. I was reading your high level description. So is the test report going to be easy access for people to obtain?
Yeah, correct. So when the test fail or the test successful, then there's nothing to do, right? But if you see the test fail, then we collect all the artifact and put it into Jenkins, and you can download from the Jenkins.
Okay. So Julie, Daniel, do you still have anything to display? If not, then can I take a presentation?
Yeah, sure, please.
Julie, can you assign to me?
Yep. Give me 1 second. Okay, Sean, you should have presentation right now.
Okay. I do? Let me see.
I did, yeah.
Green? How do I present? Sorry.
You need to share your screen. There may be a window where you need to accept it. Yeah.
I have a pop-up window now.
Okay, we see your screen.
Okay. So what I did is I actually went back to the document a little bit on the wiki. My question is, so right now everything under the PONSIM, right? So is it possible at some point the actual the OOT and ONT device can be added in the part of the test suite? If the device can be provided by the community or certain entity of the community, so is this something can be done in the near term or in the future?
Yeah, we can put it in the roadmap and decide on the priority. We already have two items, right? The HA and the multicast, and we can put it into the roadmap and decide on the priority.
Okay. And then I added activation, and I added the RG AO2.1x, and I added RG DHCP here. Just a little bit clarification, and then a multicast IGMP as it when supported. Maybe I need to when confirmed, maybe I'll do that. I added the item 13. The automotive test system shall make the test report available and easy access, including the log.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's included into the milestone. So yeah, it should be there when we finish the test cases.
Right. And then again, I added the VOLTHA cluster. I added one with physical OOT devices when made available by the community. And then there's some typos, and then I think the automated test will be managed as part of the. I originally had the core Jira, so I put it down as a VOLTHA Jira. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, thank you.
And then I think Northforge. I think this is wonderful, and then thank you for your contribution to the community. And I really would like to be able to take advantage of this, and then extend your contribution to larger scope, and then more frequent. So if this can be done, in the much shorter time frame, I think we can do multiple tests within one test release cycle, right? And I don't know whether you're aware, there's a SIBA project also is building around the VOLTHA. So potentially your scope probably can be extended to the SIBA, the system testing also. So definitely would like to invite you to the SIBA call we have every Tuesday at 10 o'clock Pacific time. If you have not aware about that just yet. Again, thank you for your contribution and work, and then I hope we can provide you the response as soon as we can. So your first timeline deliverable is by the end of this week. Is the POC. And with just want to make sure with the 1.4 as the branch to be tested now. Would that change that timeline, or that timeline has nothing to do with what branch you're using?
We need to test with the 1.4 to see if anything can come up. So if something come up, then it might affect the timelines. We don't know yet. Okay.
So I think I hope the community after today's call go back and then take a look up the wiki again, and then see whether what has been offered to the community. I think we have how to say that, we have the mindset more clear right now as to what this testing will be doing, and it's being developed. So if there's any additional requirement, I would welcome everybody to provide feedback to Northforge and the VOLTHA community. I think this is a step, at least personally, I have not dealt with before. So I think we would like to have a more reliable, more frequent, and more available testing, automation testing available for the community, not just for the VOLTHA project, potentially for the SIBA project also. So I truly hope people have more experience on this area, can provide the VOLTHA community and also the Northforge additional requirement or expectation, so that make this testing more. I said it's already very useful, but I would like to expand the scope when we can. So any question before I hand this back to Julie?
Yeah, I don't quite understand. Do you use PONSIM to test all this function, or you use a real device?
Yeah, the first step is the PONSIM. We talk about that. We will switch to PONSIM version 2, and then after that, we may switch to the real hardware. But the PONSIM will always, we can run more tests with the PONSIM, and then maybe one per day or one per week for the hardware.
Do you also test the capacity? I think the more actually, the most useful is really the capacity.
Yeah, you bring up very good point. Yeah, so capacity or performance test can be an item in the roadmap. We are not there yet.
And then Sunny, I think you joined a little bit. So the Keda-san has developed the BBSIM. BBSIM is mostly focused on the control plan testing. So the Keda-san is going to send Northforge some information regarding to the BBSIM.
Yeah, I think in this project, the stability on the control plan is more important than the performance on the data plan. I may be wrong, but this is my own opinion. For example, you can run the system for 1 day and see if you have some memory leak or something like that. I think that is more important than the performance on the data plan.
But Daniel, the Sunny has done a lot of testing within AT&T approval for use and lab. So she has a lot of experience, and the DVO lab also right now have multiple systems for the development and also the system testing. So I would definitely like to hook up with Sunny and then exchange your experience. I think that will be very helpful too. And I think it's not just for AT&T. Anybody else has any information to exchange, I think that, among the community, I think that will be a great thing.
May I ask you one question?
Ikeda-san, yes.
I want to ask you about the unicast test. Do you need to add the actual packets into the PONSIM or BBSIM in the test? Does it make sense?
Is that a question to me or to the Northforge?
I want to ask you. I want to ask Daniel.
Daniel.
Yeah, so we are focusing on the integration test, as you see. Now, if you want to include the unit tests in the same place, we need to create some module inside the robot framework and to plug in the unit test, and then we write the unit test in the robot script rather than in the other language, because I make it clear at the beginning that the test should be self-descriptive. Now it depends on what we want to do. If you want to keep the unit test as it is, then there's not much of thing to do. We just include it into the Jenkins run. But if we want to rewrite our unit test in the robot framework to be self-descriptive and easy to read, then there is a lot of things to do. So it's dependent on the priority.
Sorry, what I want to ask you about is not unit test, but unicast flow. So I mean, there is a description about the unicast test in this a wiki. So I want to ask you about you need to add the actual packets when you test unicast flow setup, CTAG and STAG assignment test in this framework.
Yeah, so if you said we need to include the package, then we need to do so, right? So we need to talk with you and see how to include that package.
I got it.
Yeah.
So one thing I'm wondering, Daniel, maybe on the wiki, for the testing we don't do, we actually also spelled it out. Is that something we should make the document a little bit clear? At least currently, this is, we don't do this, we don't do this, we don't do this. I'll think about it. I like to be transparent.
Now if you change the wiki page anyway, so can you make it also in one shot rather than because it's easier for you to do so, right?
Right.
Thanks.
No, thank you. Any other questions? And Danielle, do you have anything you want to comment before we hand it back to Julie?
No, I think I finished all the question and remark. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. And then I appreciate your work. And then Julie, can you take back to you.
Yeah, I'm getting presentation rights back. 1 minute here. All right. Are you able to see my screen? I should have the Garrett up here for. So this was I think this was reviewed a bit during the discussion. So for Vol 1129, this is one where we're looking for some code review for that item. So that is there in Garrett. Also, I did want to jump back to something we talked about earlier in the call. Andy did mention that the patch for Vol 506, the rebase for that for multiple PON multicast support. So that was successfully uploaded and is available for review and comment as well. So I think we need to get some more reviewers added onto this. I see Chip on there currently. We should probably add a few more as well. And then let me go back to the minutes or the agenda if I can find that.
Julie, one thing is,
yeah.
do we actually? Yeah, I guess maybe that Jira and other thing related to the multicast. Maybe we can pull it up and then maybe have another technical discussion about the multicast support for the VOLTA.
Right. I have a note that we need to schedule a follow-up discussion on multicast. So we'll put that on one of the future items. Right now, we don't have a date assigned to it, so we can work that in the background. But I'll add that to the list of future discussion topics.
Right. I think right now we have requirements from AT&T, and we have requirements from the Turk Telecom and also Deutsche Telekom. They all want VOLTA support multicast. So not in the MVP timeframe, but it will be next year.
Okay.
Okay, back to you.
Okay, so 506 and 1129, both of these are items that we have in our active sprint as well. So we'll see if those reviews can get covered by the end of the week. And if not, then they would carry over. But wanted to make sure I pointed those out in Garrett. And then back to the agenda. So Sean, we covered that. I don't think you had any additional questions there. And again, we'll be kicking off Sprint 7 next week. So feel free to start populating Sprint 7 with items that are planned for work during that time window, about 3 weeks again. And Northforge, thank you for your presentation and discussion today. I have a couple items here. We talked about the one, Garrett, that is up there for review currently. There's also Vol 1130, which is blocking for some of the work in Jenkins, I believe you said. And then Vol 1193, that's on getting an environment for the test node, I think for Kubernetes. And Sean, it sounds like you're working to try and find a resource to support that.
Well, at least provide an answer.
Or provide an answer, okay, true. And then we'll look for a time for a follow-up discussion on multicast. So we'll add that into a future list here. I'll clean that up later. Also, before I think we'll end a few minutes early today, but before I do that, I did want to just point out, we've updated the schedule a little bit for the follow-up discussion on HA. And so we're going to push that out by one more week to 9/13. So just letting you know, I've updated the date, and so that will be in the minutes that I send out today. And so that does free up some time next Thursday if there are discussion topics we need to pull in from the group, or if there are folks who have demos from Sprint 6 work that they would like to present to the community. So you can take a look at that, see if there are items that would be good for discussion next Thursday. And I think that is it. Northforge, are there any other items that I neglected to mention here that we need to follow up for you from the community? Okay.
Yeah, I think we need to assign the Jira ticket to somebody, so we depend on that.
Right, the 1130, right?
Let me check. Let me check. What is the number?
That's the one I pulled up. Let me bring it up on the screen here.
1193.
1193. Yeah, that's the one that Sean is working on finding someone for this. So he's reaching out to a few different groups to see if someone can either provide an answer or help get an environment for this.
Okay, great.
So Sean, should I go ahead and assign this to you since you're working on it currently, or do you want me to just leave it unassigned at the moment? And add a comment.
Add a comment.
Okay. Where are you? Which one? Oh boy. Which one am I supposed to use for you? This one?
It will all come in anyway, so.
Okay. Okay, so we'll do that. And then while we're over here, I'll bring up that other one, which is 1130. This is the one where we have a different issue. 1056 is blocked by integrating with Jenkins, and so this one item. So I think we had this one in Sprint 6. It may be carrying over to Sprint 7, but it's automatically going to go in there. So let's try and prioritize this for the Sprint 7 work, if that's okay with the team. And Ken, I know we have you assigned to it currently. If we need to try and pull someone else in to assist with this, just let me know and we can discuss it either offline or on the VOLTHA call, trying to find another resource.
Yeah, sure. If somebody else want to take hold of it, sure, no problem.
Yeah.
And if they can use the envoy that is already built on Docker Hub, so that's that
okay.
will alleviate this problem. It's because more involved to fix this than expected.
Okay. Northforge, do you have any questions for Ken on that comment? Oh, and Sean, no. I see you added a comment in here. Thank you. Okay. I think that's it for today's discussion then. Any additional items from the group, or I know there are still a number of Garrett reviews out there that we're hoping to close out this week. So anything that the group needs to bring up in the last 5 minutes? All right, I'm not hearing anything. I think we'll give you just a few minutes back today. So thanks everyone for your participation, and we'll talk to you soon. And also a reminder to the development engineers that the stand-up meeting on Monday is canceled because it's a U.S. holiday and I will not be hosting the bridge. So Monday we do not have an engineering stand-up meeting. All right, thanks everyone. I will stop the recording.